this year with a 6.47 ERA. And Bob Kipper, who was scheduled to start the first game for Pittsburgh, with Bob Walk scheduled to start the first, or rather the second, will now start the second, as manager Jim Leyland decided after getting to the ballpark today to flip-flop. Well, he may have made the decision before he got to the park, but he let us know about it. So left-hander Bob Kipper in there for the Pirates with a record of 2-5 and a 4.45 ERA in game 2.
Speaking of Jim Leyland as a manager and Davey Johnson as a manager, it's hard to believe that Davey Johnson is actually in tenor the third longest in the National League in tenor, behind Whitey Herzog and Mr. Lasorda.
That's right, and that happened, of course, with the firing of Jim Fry this week. And Davey moved up to number 3 in tenure in the National League, which is really amazing and shows you what a high-risk job it is.
Well, that's obviously just, you know, with Chuck Tanner, we're talking about with the same club, obviously,
right.
But
with
I think we have a few highlights coming up here, Stevie.
Yeah, if you missed Ralph Kiner's Between Games Kiner's Corner, once again we'll show you the highlights of game 1, in which the Mets were victorious 1-0. Father's Day, but you wouldn't know it from that clown. And Darryl Strawberry in the bottom of the first doubles to the right field corner. Mike Brown, the right fielder, gets on the ball and relays it to Rafael Belliard, to Tony Pena at home, and they throw out Keith Hernandez. And it's still 0-0. Then in the top of the third, Jim Morrison lofts a short fly to right, and a few of these had dropped in. Keith Hernandez says, "I'll handle this one," makes a fine catch and throws to Santana to double off Pena from second base. A 3-6 double play. In the bottom of the fourth, Hernandez doubles down the right field line. Wally Backman was on first, and Wally will score all the way from first for the first run of the game. And the Mets lead 1-0 as Hernandez goes all the way to third on the throw home. But that's as far as he gets. So we go to the bottom of the sixth, and Gary Carter up. A 3-1 count, and Carter walks with the bases loaded to bring in Dykstra, who had led off the inning with a triple. Bob walking 4 in that inning, and the Mets lead it 2-0. Still in the bottom of the sixth inning, Bill Allman arguing that Carter did not check his swing on a 3-2 pitch, and now Danny Heap walks on a 3-2 count. That forces in Backman with another run. It is 3-0 Mets, and Jim Leyland can only look on from the Pirate dugout. Kevin Mitchell, the batter, and he lines one, and this is 6 inches within a home run, right off the top of the left field wall. Dykstra scores. R.J. Reynolds to Sammy Khalifa, and on to Pena to get Wally Backman at the plate, as the Mets tried to score 2, but at that point it was 4-0 New York. And then Pena lofts one down the right field line. It drops in, and then Kevin Mitchell, in an attempt to throw the ball, throws it right into the ground. It wouldn't have made any difference, actually, as Jim Morrison scored the Pirate run, but it did allow Pena to go to third. Mitchell charged with an error, and it is 4-1. And here Sammy Khalifa flies out to right field to Kevin Mitchell to win the ball game. And Bob Ojeda had his 3rd complete game of the year, and the Mets won it 4-1 in the first of 2 this afternoon. And Ojeda, Rusty, has just been outstanding. He's only had 1 bad outing all year, in which he just went over 3 innings, but the rest of the time he's really just kept everybody handcuffed up there.
Well, there's no doubt about the acquisition of Bob Ojeda being one of the stabilizing forces of one of the better pitching staffs that's been around a long time.
The Mets now with 4 players in the top 10 as far as won-loss records are concerned. Gooden at 8-2, Darling at 7-2, Fernandez at 7-2, and Ojeda now 8-2. So outstanding starting pitching for the Mets, and it'll be Rick Aguilera who has struggled starting for the Mets in game 2. And we'll be back here at Shea once again as we inch up closer toward the nightcap after this timeout. We're back with you at Shea, and there is Rick Aguilera, 0-3 and a 6.47 ERA, who will be making his 6th start of the year. And Aggie has been bitten, I should say, a bit by the home run ball. He's given up 10 in 32 innings of work. And it was banner day, but that was not one of the entrants.
He's having a good time, though.
That is a commercially produced banner there. Great day, though. Been outstanding, and another great crowd. This was interesting here, a patchwork quilt. Boy, you talk about some work. You'd have to really get up close to read all that.
I think one of the keys to Rick Aguilera today, Steve, is one of the things that has not been good about his pitching other than the home runs is that he's given up 16 walks in 32 innings. And to stay ahead of the hitters in the strike zone, you know, keep the ball in the strike zone, but be ahead of the hitters is going to be a key to whether he's going to be successful or not here today, I think. I think it's one of the things he has to start doing to become a successful pitcher again.
It's also the reason that he has given up a lot of home runs, because he's fallen behind in the count and he's had to come in to the batters in an effort to try to prevent walks, and consequently thrown some fat pitches, and some hitters have lost 10 of them at least for him.
Well, I know Mel Stottlemyre's worked a great deal with him in the bullpen before games and mentally, and just discussions on trying to, I think, get inside Rick's heads the things that need to be there so that he can go out on the mound and effectively produce and get people out.
Well, so much of the game is mental, that's for sure. And Rick Aguilera has shown in the past that he's got the physical ability to do the job. There's Tony Pena, who will not be catching game 2.
Which is a rarity for the Pittsburgh Pirates. One of the surprising things about the lineup for the Pirates in the second game is Bill Allman hitting third, who is having an awful year against the Mets. He's 0 for 18. They've got R.J. Reynolds hitting fifth, who has been devastating against the Mets. 9 hits and 28 at-bats.
That is hard to understand, isn't it? But this is a tough time for players between games, isn't it, Rusty?
Well, I think the players are very pleased that this banner day has gone as quickly as it has gone. Some days, when you start getting to the hour and 20-minute period, it starts getting very antsy in the clubhouse, and everybody's eager to get the second game going. I know the fans are.
I don't think she cares. She's just enjoying her ice cream there. What a shot for Father's Day, huh?
She's got no 0 for 4s in her bag.
Well, on the other side of the dugout, the other side of the field, Bob Kipper. Boy, there's a nice looking banner. Bob Kipper will be starting for the Pirates, and Kipper, another guy who has struggled a little bit. He's given up 11 home runs this year and a 2-5 record with a 4.45 ERA. He'll be making his 11th start, and there is the young left-hander right there. Well, there's Lisa, who works up here most of the time with her parents, her dad and mom, here on Father's Day. She's one of the Mets hostesses and also a WOR employee.
Steve, Bob Kipper has really not gotten off to the kind of starts the Pirates were hoping from him. He's given up 75 hits in 62 2/3 innings in the 10 starts he's had. He's had 1 relief appearance, but he has, as you said before, given up 11 home runs and has struggled for the Pirates.
He's 6'2", 180 pounds, and was with California a little bit last season. Came over in a trade to the Pirates. He was 0-1 with the Angels last year and 1-2 with a 5.11 ERA with the Pirates last season after the trade.
And another pitcher who has not had very much opportunity to hit in his career. He's 0 for 19 this year, and I think he and Bobby Ojeda may be going to the same school.
They need to go to extra BP together.
Definite.
Well, we're moments away now. We have been told that the second game of the doubleheader will begin just about right at 5 o'clock, and that's about 12 or 13 minutes from right now. Banner Day, I think, was completed a little bit more quickly than everybody here thought. They originally set that 5 o'clock time while Banner Day was still in progress. And now the Mets are amassing in the dugout, getting ready to come out and present their banner for 1986 to the fans here at Shea. Bill Robinson, Rafael Santana, Sid Fernandez, Randy Neiman, and Bud Harrelson doing the honors. It's always a moment of anticipation as we wait and see what the players' banner has to say.
See if they can get this straight, huh?
Looks like they're in line. Fans like it ought to be. Not exactly grammatically correct, but a nice point. And boy, that's really the truth, as the Mets are just about ready to draw, probably in their next home game on Thursday, They will pass the 1 million mark for 1986.
Yes, they will, Steve, and I don't think anybody in that group is going to make the Rockettes on their next move.
Well, what it lacked in synchronization, it made up for in sincerity. So we're getting ready for game 2. The Mets won the opener 4-1 behind Bob Ojeda. And we'll return to Shea Stadium and get ready for the second game right after this.
For the start of the second ball game, Gary Carter taking his warm-ups in front of the Met dugout. Mets winning that first game by a score of 4-1 behind the fine pitching of Bob Ojeda. And Lee Leyland, the manager of the Pittsburgh Pirates, changing his lineup once again, trying to find a combination. Mets have won 10 of the 11 games that they have played with the Pittsburgh Pirates this year. Last year, the Mets won 10 and lost 8 to the Pirates. And former Met Junior Ortiz in the lineup here for the second game. He'll be doing the catching.
Well, a lot of teams have really tried to change their lineups against the Mets. The Mets 42-16. And Ralph, I do not believe that I have ever seen a ball club over a 58-game period as hot as the Mets have been.
Well, I guess the Detroit Tigers 2 years ago, when they got off to that fantastic start, would have a record that would be comparable to the Mets, but
I never saw them.
This is one of, well, I didn't see the 1909 Cubs that won 116 games, the all-time percentage leaders. But the Mets certainly have been playing outstanding baseball. And we'll be back with the start of the second game right after this message from Sports Illustrated.
86, brought to you by Michelob Light. Super premium taste and a less filling beer. Who says you can't have it all? By Manufacturers Hanover Trust. We realize your potential. By Nissan, who invite you to test drive the totally new 1987 Nissan Sentra at your Nissan dealer now. By RC Cola. People go out of their way for the taste of RC. By your local New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut Ford dealers. By Burger King. This is a Burger King town. We know how burgers should be. By your Lincoln Mercury dealers. And by Sports Illustrated, where each week over 14 million readers get the feeling. Live from Shea Stadium in New York, WOR-TV presents New York Mets baseball. As today, the Mets take on the Pittsburgh Pirates in Game 2 of the doubleheader. Pitching for the Pirates, left-hander Bob Kipper, 2-5 with a 4.45 ERA. And on the mound for the Mets, right-hander Rick Aguilera, 0-3 with an ERA of 6.47.
Well, once again, hi, everybody. I'm Ralph Kiner, along with Tim McCarver and Steve Zabriskie, and we're all set for the second game of this doubleheader. And it's a warm afternoon out here at Shea Stadium. Banner Day Parade is over, and some fine banners displayed out here, Tim, and I understand that you were running for president.
Yeah, and so were you, and so was Steve Zabriskie, and so was Bill Webb.
Flattery will get you everywhere.
Maybe. I'll tell you what, we had a lot of Carter for president, Hernandez for president, Darryl Strawberry for president, and I guess that's the way Davey Johnson feels about the Mets right now, because they are playing a presidential brand of baseball. By the way, Bob Kipper, a left-hander, starting for the Pirates, Ralph, and you mentioned that Jim Leyland mixing up his lineup. I think one of the reasons that he may have started Kipper against Rick Aguilera as opposed to against Bob Ojeda. Kipper is 0-2 against the Mets this year, and both times it's been against Ojeda. And if it had been going that first game, unless, of course, he shut out the Mets, which he could have done, but Ojeda would have beat him for a third time because Bobby was really sharp.
So we'll be back with the second ball game in just a moment, right after this message from Michelob Light.
0-3 record, a 6.47 ERA. He has 1-1 career against the Pirates. No record this year, even though he did have a no decision in the second game of the doubleheader 10 days ago against Pittsburgh. Rick Aguilera on the mound.
And for the Pittsburgh Pirates, it'll be Barry Bonds, the leadoff, batting second. The right fielder, Joe Orsulak, batting third, and playing shortstop, Bill Allman. Batting in the cleanup position at first base, Sid Bream. Batting fifth and playing left field, R.J. Reynolds. Batting sixth, the third baseman, Jim Morrison. Batting seventh and catching, Junior Ortiz. The eighth batter, the second baseman, Sam Khalifa. And the pitcher, Bob Kipper, on the mound, batting ninth.
And defensively for the Mets, Foster, Wilson, and Mitchell in the outfield. Ray Knight at third, Santana. Tim Tuffle in there for Wally Backman. Gary Carter has moved from behind the plate to first base, and Ed Hearn behind the mound. So a young battery for both teams. Aguilera and Hearn for the Mets, and Junior Ortiz and Bob Kipper for the Pirates. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the New York Mets and WOR-TV, and is intended solely for the private non-commercial use of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, retransmission, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of the New York Mets and WOR-TV is prohibited. So the same disclaimer as the first game, right?
Hasn't changed.
Some things never change. And the luck of the Mets, if it can be termed that, hasn't changed either. 42-16. The Montreal Expos winning their games, so the Mets are still lodged in first place, 10 games in front of the Expos. And leading off for the Pittsburgh Pirates, Barry Bonds, who was 1 for 4 in game 1.
Bonds this year against the Mets with 6 hits and 26 at-bats. He's had 1 home run and has driven in 2. Overall, 3 home runs, 9 RBIs.
Rick Aguilera trying for his first win of the 1986 season, and the fastball is outside. 1-0 to Barry Bonds. Fouls it off the mask of Ed Hearn. 1-1. Ed started yesterday's ball game behind the plate. Gary Carter was fallen on by Rick Russell in Friday night's game. He did, however, come back to catch the first game of today's doubleheader, and is at first base in game 2, and Bonds fouls it away. 1-2 to Barry. Here's Gary.
Between Gary Carter and Kevin Mitchell, they got to have an awful lot of gloves in their locker.
Kevin has played 6 positions, started 5, and he's in this game playing right field. And the fastball outside, 2-2.
Strawberry fouled the ball off his foot in the first game and had to leave the ball game. He was not scheduled to play in the second game under the original conditions, so really isn't out of this game because of the injury.
And Kevin Mitchell, in his only at bat, had an RBI double, driving in Len Dykstra. That's how big the ball has been looking to the Met hitters. They have been pounding on the ball.
That's leading the National League in hitting 267 before the start of this doubleheader.
Ground ball sharply to Carter. And there's one away.
Well, there's an old expression in baseball that a fielder got a position so messed up nobody could play it. It's the other way around at first base. Hernandez has got it so good out there that anybody can play it.
Different twist to an old story. Joe Arcelak is batting .248. You saw Carter go down on that one knee, Ralph. And I'll tell you, my biggest problem when I made the futile transition from catching to playing first base, it was futile because I just couldn't play the position. On ground balls, I was trained for 20 years to try to block ground balls. Any ball in the dirt, you block it. And you saw Gary Carter go down on that as though he were blocking the ball. He did make the catch. Orsulak tries to bunt, but it's a ball. But he did make the catch. But that's one of the things that I forgot when I went down to first base. I was trying to block everything. Unsuccessfully. 2-0 to Orsulak. Take one ground ball after the other when you're a first baseman in infield practice and before a game, but you get in the heat of the competition and you go back to what you were trained to do, block the ball instead of catching.
That's why it's so hard to change a batting style.
Tim Teufel throws to Carter, 2 out.
Trying to change a batter's batting style. It works in batting practice when the heat's not on, but when the heat comes on, then you go back to the one that was natural to you, the one you learned as a kid.
And I guess appropriate to say that here on Banner Day, last couple of years, we've had Marvin Throneberry's banner up several times. And that's what Marvin Throneberry used to do. He used to impress everybody in batting practice, but not during the game when they started putting wrinkles in those fastballs.
He had a stance identical to Mickey Mantle's.
Slider for a strike, 0-1 to Bill Almond. Almond 0 for 4 in game 1.
He copied Mantle to a T, but then it ended when he got in the batter's box in the game. He did hit the ball hard. He had a lot of home runs in the minor leagues.
Won the Triple Crown from Minneapolis back in '56, I believe, and then Norm Seaborn won it the next year. I think it may have been 55 and 56. I think Throneberry was the only player ever to play in the American Association to win the Triple Crown 2 years in a row, which showed you a lot about Yankee talent then. Slider foul back, 1-2.
In the days of the farm systems, the Yankees had teams that were better than some of the teams in the major leagues playing at their top affiliation at Newark and Kansas City. They had 2 clubs. In those days, they were AA clubs at the top, and they could really play baseball. Of course, the St. Louis Cardinals had the same situation with Rochester and Columbus.
Fastball outside, 2-2. Aguilera 10-7 last year after going 6-4 at Tidewater. He slipped off the rubber. It looked like he may have slightly injured his left ankle. Sometimes that toe plate that a pitcher wears can get hung up on that pitching rubber.
Right here, you look at it on the replays. He shoved off, comes down with his foot off to the side, loses his balance, and the pitch goes awry.
3-2 to Bill Almond. Mets won the first game 4-1, just starting game 2. Check swing on a slider, and Tuffle over to Carter. An easy inning for Rick Aguilera. As the Pirates go in order, we go to the bottom of the first, no score, and we'll be back after this word from Metropolitan Life. 2-5 on the year. He's 0-2 against New York, both against Bob Ojeda, trying for his 3rd victory of the year.
And for the Mets, it's Wilson, Tuffle, and Mitchell as the first 3. Then Carter, Foster, and Knight, Hearn, Santana, and Aguilera to round out the 9 in the batting order.
And there you have the defensive alignment. Reynolds, Bonds, and Orsulak in the outfield. Morrison, Almond, Khalifa, and Breen. Junior Ortiz, the ex-Met, behind the plate. And Mookie Wilson, the first batter. Mookie batting .291, but only .205 as a right-handed hitter. Ball 1.
Mookie hitting .296 against the Pirates this year with 8 hits, 2 of them home runs. So 2 of his 3 home runs have been against Pittsburgh.
Hits this one well, but R.J. Reynolds is there. Came in, now he backs up and makes a routine play difficult. 1 out. If this were a bright sunny day, and there seems to be a haze or a cloud cover over the field here at Shea, if it were bright, the hitters would have a lot more trouble with those shadows, but that is not the case now.
It really helps the players to have it overcast like it is.
Tuffle batting .232, his 2nd home run as a pinch hitter the other night in extra innings against the Phillies. And a bunt attempt. Strike 1 as he fouls it off.
Became the 8th man to have a pinch hit home run with the bases loaded in extra innings. Only 8 have done it. Only 1 in the American League, and that was Steve Suchak playing for Detroit. He originally came up in the Yankee organization.
Breaking ball hit, but he got up under it a little bit. Reynolds again toward the line. Fair ball, and he makes the catch. 2 out. There you see the haze. Bill Webb trying to trick us again on bridges.
That's not the George Washington Bridge.
No, that is not the Goethals Bridge either, nor the Golden Gate, nor the Oakland Bay Bridge.
It could be one of 2. Could be the Throg's Neck, or it could be the Whitestone. I'm taking the Throg's Neck.
I'll take the Whitestone.
And we can't be wrong that way.
0-1 to Kevin Mitchell, who had a booming double his first game.
Oh, he put a clothesline out to that left field corner.
Kevin now batting .335 on the year.
8 for 22 against Pittsburgh this year.
And ball one. 1-1 to Kevin Mitchell. No score. Bottom of the first. The Mets won game one 4-1.
Got a lot of mileage out of those 7 base hits.
Len Dykstra, the only triple in that game. Swing and a miss on the breaking ball. So it's 1-2 to Kevin Mitchell. Shows you the way the Pirates have been going. They've lost 3 in a row.
Hope that's not his contract.
That is paper, however. Hits it off the end of the bat, and it might drop. But Reynolds makes a nice running catch. 3 outs to left field do the Mets in here in the bottom of the first, and after 1, no score. Now here's a word from Sports Illustrated.
Movie, Peter O'Toole and Omar Sharif star in a compelling WW2 drama about the Nazi occupation. Night of the Generals, Monday night at 9.
That is a great movie.
And don't play bridge with Omar Sharif.
That is correct. Omar Sharif with a bridge column. Actually, it's under the name of Charles Gorin and Omar Sharif, but Charles Gorin no longer alive. But Omar Sharif, a crack bridge player. Larry McWilliams. There's some of the things you do in the bullpen. Looks like one flew over the cuckoo's nest down there.
He's got a chance. Crazy Horse used to go down that bullpen and fool around all the time, pitch imaginary games. Tim Foley, a shortstop.
Yep. Sid Bream takes a fastball high, batting .264. Ball 2. Sid did not start game 1, but things are getting serious here, folks. Ding, 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 ding. See Larry McWilliams with that string in the bullpen, probably pulling the string, working on the string.
Change your pace.
3-0 to Sid Bream.
Bream has had 51 base hits. 14 have been doubles, 3 have been triples, and 9 have been home runs.
And ball 4. 4 straight balls to Sid Bream. And he's the leadoff runner here in the second inning, and the batter R.J. Reynolds.
R.J., a pinch hitter in the first game, struck out, so his average dropping to .299. He has 5 home runs, 23 RBIs.
Bobby Ojeda winning his 8th game. He struck out 5, walked only 1, giving up 8 hits, and won 4-1. Ball 1. 5 straight balls thrown by Aguilera. And here comes Gary Carter.
And that's been his problem. He has been behind hitters. He's given up 10 home runs and working 32 innings, and he has been behind the hitters, coming in with a fastball. And of course, hitters in the major leagues sitting on that fastball with a count 2-0, 3-1, pumping the ball out of the ballpark.
And that's an example of what Ralph was talking about. Reynolds has a healthy cut, but fouls it back 1-1. Yeah, he's fallen behind early. And then later on, or when he gets ahead, he's too wild in the strike zone.
Makes the pitches too good when you're wild in the strike zone. Means you throw it down the middle.
You can flip-flop that philosophy. Then you're on the right track. Stay ahead early. And then throw the teasers when you're ahead. Change up is low, 2-1.
Little teaser there, but he missed with it. Good call by the catcher, Ed Hearn, changing speeds on R.J. Reynolds, who is a very good fastball hitter.
Grounded towards short. Santana only has 1 play, but Tuffle. Woo! Tuffle turned that. I didn't think they had a chance for Reynolds at first.
Reynolds must not have gotten out of the batter's box because this ball's not hit hard. He gets jammed with it. Now he's slow out of the box. And now Santana feeding Tuffle. Tuffle making a good relay on the first base, and it's very close.
That's a good point, Ralph, because a lot of times when hitters like Reynolds swing from their heels, they do have to finish the swing after contact. And that's what causes a lot of hitters, I would imagine, to get out of the box slowly. Here's Jim Morrison.
If you've got a big follow through, it's tough to get out of there.
1-0. Well, so the Pirates have fared fairly well against right-handed pitchers. 9 games under 500 against lefties.
They had been over 500 on the road. They're now 12-12 on the road. They've played very poorly at home.
Batting average against a right-handed pitcher than he would against a left-hander. Almost never. I say never, but almost never. But you see a lot of right-handers as Morrison hits it deep to right center, but playable. 2 out.
Well, last year Tuffle hit much better against right-hand pitching than left-hand pitching. Of course, he's a right-hand batter.
Of course, right-handed hitters face more right-handed pitchers. There are more right-handed pitchers. Probably 3-1.
It used to be more so. Now it's coming closer to 500. That's why it was such an advantage to be a left-hand batter. You saw very few left-handed pitchers going back before WW2. And of course, the left-handed batter has that hole to hit through with a runner on first base, which is the case right now.
He's 2 steps closer to first base, also on the infield type hits. Reynolds certainly a threat to steal. And Ortiz fouls it back. Hearn back toward the screen. And it's about 10 feet on the screen. So it's 0-1 to Junior Ortiz, who is 8 for his last 14.
JJ.
Old JJ has a son named JJ. Refer to him as Junior. He is a marvelous young man. Funny guy.
Had a short stint with the New York Mets. And when the Mets acquired Gary Carter, of course, he was able to be moved on.
Junior came to the Mets for Marvell Wynn. Marvell Wynn now with the San Diego Padres. 0-1, 2 out. And there goes Reynolds. Throw is low, and Reynolds is in there.
Well, that ball bounced up and hit Tuffle somewhere around the neck. Let's take a look at it again. Ed Hearn, the catcher, comes out, fires it down short of second, and it bounces up, hits him on the leg, I guess.
Ooh.
Got him right on the knee.
So Timmy appears to be all right. It's 1-1 to Junior Ortiz. And R.J. Reynolds is 9th stolen base of the year.
Pirates have had 46 stolen bases out of 82 attempts. They're about 55% on the plus side in that department. Not very good. The Mets now have thrown out only 13 runners out of 76. About 17%.
Well, we talk about stealing off the pitcher. Reynolds did not really have that good a jump that time, so Ed Hearn did have a shot at him, but he did throw it low. 1-2 to Ortiz. No score. Top of the second. 2 out. Slider misses. 2-2.
A lot of twos up there. And Junior Ortiz is 2 for 8 against the Mets this year.
You cannot walk Junior Ortiz. He walked 3 times in 72 at-bats last year, 4 times in 193 at-bats in 1983 with the Mets in Pittsburgh. There's an example. Mitchell over, and he makes the play in fair territory. So a nice play by Kevin Mitchell and a good pitch by Rick Aguilera. Pirates fail to score in the second. After 1.5, no score, and we'll be back after this word from Purolator Courier. The bottom of the second inning. And Ralph, I was just thinking, this seems to be the year of the dominating sports club. The Chicago Bears dominated the NFL. The Boston Celtics dominated their basketball season. Maybe this is the year where the Mets dominate the National League and eventually baseball.
Well, the one thing that's very tough in today's play is divisional play. And, of course, even though you have one of the best teams in baseball and you get into divisional championship playoff, you can be knocked off in a short series. One advantage, though, has been going to a best of 4 out of 7 when they did go 3 out of 5. In '73, the Mets beat a dominant ball club when they beat the Cincinnati Reds in the playoffs.
Fastball is low to Gary Carter, 1-0 at 4 out of 7 format. Much fairer than the 3 out of 5, even though it's only 2 games max.
One time they played the World Series in a best of 5 of 9.
Back in the early hundreds, wasn't it?
Yeah, 1900s.
And it's 2-1 to Carter. Gary in game 1, 0 for 3, but he did have a walk and an RBI with the bases loaded in the 6th inning. Line base hit to left center field. So Carter on there.
Carter in the first game didn't have a hit, although he hit the ball hard. Now he hits the ball hard and gets a base hit, so he's 1 for 4 for the doubleheaders. He leads off with a base hit here in the 2nd.
And the batter will be George Foster, and Bob Kipper remembers him. Foster homered and doubled the last time the Mets were at Three Rivers. Kipper lost to Ojeda and the Mets 7-0.
George's only home run against the Pirates this year. He's driven in 4, and he's hitting .296 against Pittsburgh Pirate pitching this season.
He has 10 home runs on the year. Ripped hard. Nice play by Morrison. And Foster beats it to first base on no throw. But I think Khalifa really had a shot at him, don't you? I think he kind of conceded that too early.
I do believe he had trouble getting the ball out of his glove. Let's see if that's true. Good backhand play by Morrison. Good throw to Khalifa. Right here, he has a little trouble getting the ball out of the glove. And, of course, the slide by Carter doesn't help him any. So he doesn't throw the ball, and it's a force play at second, and it brings up Ray Knight.
Nice play by Jim Morrison, the third baseman. And speaking of nice plays by third baseman, Ray Knight with 2 sparkling defensive plays in the first game. Continues his hot hitting. Slider is high.
Speaking of pitching, as you look at Ray Knight, ran into Dwight Gooden between games of the doubleheader, and he wanted to send a happy Father's Day greeting to his dad down in the Tampa area. Tampa, Florida. So we'll wish you and everybody else, every other father, a very happy Father's Day.
Fastball outside, 2-0.
Going to have a fine matchup coming up when the Mets meet Montreal. Next Wednesday, it'll be Dwight Gooden against Floyd Yeomans. They played on the same high school team down in Tampa, Florida. First time they've ever matched up.
Played for 2 years, their freshman and sophomore years at Hillsborough High in Tampa, and then Floyd moved to the West Coast. That game, by the way, will be carried on WOR, 7:30 New York time. Fastball for a strike, 2-1 to Ray Knight.
Yeomans 5-5 for Montreal. Of course, Dwight Gooden 8-2. Third game of a 3-game series in Montreal. First time the Mets have seen Montreal. Tomorrow night it'll be Ron Darling against Jay Tibbs. Tibbs, a former Met pitcher.
Montreal won behind Andy McGaffigan and Jeff Reardon in Philadelphia today. 2-0 over the Phils. Hit hard to center field. But there's Barry Bonds playing him just right. And he makes the catch. Willie Mays told me that center field at Shea Stadium was the toughest center field for him to play in the National League.
And that's after playing at Candlestick Park, which would seem to be tougher than here. But you do have a lot of strange wind currents in this ballpark. And in daylight playing time, it's tough to pick the ball up.
Ed Hearn, the batter. And the slider is inside. 1-0 to Ed. Batting .250. He has 3 doubles to his credit. All 2. 7th start behind the plate for Ed Hearn. Broke in a dandy game played in Los Angeles. He was 2 for 3 with a walk, a single, and a double. Well hit to left center, but there's Reynolds. So the Mets are getting a good piece of the ball. 4th putout for R.J. Reynolds. Mets fail to score in the 2nd, and after 2, no score. Now here's a word from Ivory.
Action this Tuesday night at 7:30 when the boys from Shea battle the Montreal Expos, live from Olympic Stadium, only here on Channel 9.
No score, top of the 3rd inning. The Mets won the first game 4-1 behind Bobby Ojeda and Sam Khalifa, who was 1 for 4 in game 1, is the batter. Sam in there at second base today as Johnny Ray is still nursing a tender left hamstring. Kind of unusual to face a club without the benefit of their leading hitter and Johnny Ray. But that means a lot, doesn't it, Ralph? When you play a team.
Catch them when they're cold or catch them when somebody's hurt. Johnny Ray hitting .317 led the National League in hitting in the early part of the year.
Fastball on the outside corner, and it's 0-1 to Sam Khalifa.
#1 draft choice of the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Another fastball right there, so it's 0-2. Now here's what we were saying earlier, whether Aguilera can now make the pitch that he made to Ortiz, not be wild in the strike zone.
This is a pitcher's pitch all the way.
Right down the middle, and he fouls it off.
Some managers fine pitchers for throwing a strike when they're ahead in the count 0-2.
You know, the point is, if a hitter gets a ball off the end of the bat, or you break his bat or something, he gets a base hit, you can't do anything about that. But to drill him in the hole with 2 strikes and no balls and then come back and pitch him like it's 2-0 doesn't make sense.
You got the advantage, keep it.
Fastball fouled away. That ball was up.
And a good pitch.
Aguilera not with a full year in the major leagues yet. He came up last year, May 21st. And then the game was rained out, so he was sent back down without a chance to even play. Carter on a nice play over to Aguilera to get Khalifa. 1 out.
Right here, Aguilera taking the throw. Rick is a fine athlete. He can do things very well. In fact, he's a very good hitter.
His last start, as a matter of fact, he had a home run against the Pittsburgh Pirates. First of his major league career. Here's Bob Kipper. But that was really a good pitch, that last 0-2 pitch. Khalifa reaching for it. And that's how you get most hitters out, is having them reach for the ball, getting ahead and throwing those little teasing fastballs.
Get him off balance.
1-0 to Bob Kipper. One and one, unless of course you're pitching to Wade Boggs. If you get 2 strikes on him, it doesn't even matter.
He's an outstanding hitter, isn't he?
He has hit .390 in his major league career with the count 0-2. Staggering. 2-1 to Kipper.
What's even more staggering to me is that last season he only hit 2 pop-ups to the left side of the infield all season long.
Ground ball off the foot of Kipper. That's how Darryl Strawberry left game 1, fouling a ball off his foot.
When you pop the ball up to the opposite side, 99% of the time you're behind the pitch. And right here, the pitcher, Kipper, is ahead of the pitch, and that's why you hit the ball down like that. You're out in front and you get the top of the ball.
So nice to see a player smile during a ball game, because they rarely smile during games. Kind of catches you off guard, doesn't it? Not used to it. 2-2 to Kipper. 1 out, no score. Top of the third. The Mets won the first one 4-1. Fastball misses. 3-2.
Stan Musial smiled all the time, but he should have. He's always hitting 330.
Hit like that, that'd bring a smile to your face all the time. That's right. Ground ball sharply up the middle, but the high hop for Santana gets Kipper. 2 out.
And this is something in the major leagues that's done so well. Positioning of your defense. Because Kipper is a pitcher, Santana shaded over. He doesn't figure to pull the ball, and he was able to take that ball almost up the middle. Don't run into that in the minor leagues. Makes so much difference.
Much more sophisticated game in the big leagues. It's still a round ball, round bat, and hit the ball square, but a little bit more sophisticated defenses up here. Better fielders, quicker. Barry Bonds grounded to first his first time up, and he takes a strike. Slider in the dirt. 1-1 to Barry. Don't call me U.S. Bonds. You remember U.S. Bonds?
Had a few of those.
Now we're getting into profit and loss statements.
That's right.
Gary U.S. Bonds. Don't ask me to tell you the songs that he sang. I would know it if I heard it. Here comes our resident authority, Zabriskie. 2:45. All right. You remember that song, don't you, Ralph, by Gary U.S. Bonds?
I know it well.
Benny Goodman did not, the late Benny Goodman did not record that, however.
Benny Goodman was a big baseball fan.
I understand that.
In fact, most of the old band leaders were. Harry James used to work out with the St. Louis Cardinals.
Bonds fouls another one back. Sammy Kay. You introduced me to Sammy at Wingfoot. That day we were playing golf a couple of years ago. Harry James, a big Cardinal fan.
He had his own softball team. They used to play on the sandlots wherever they were playing a gig.
Corky Corcoran.
Boy, was he a baseball fan.
Yes, sir.
Great saxophone player. Eddie Condon. Buddy Rich. Gene Krupa. In fact, I did an interview with Gene here at the ballpark years ago.
Well, Barry Bonds cannot interview a fastball on the black. Good pitch by Aguilera, who appears to be strong. He's retired 5 in a row. No score after 2.5. Middle of the third. After this word from your Ford dealers.
The afternoon, June 22nd, as they take on Ryan Sandberg and the Chicago Cubs. All kids 14 and under will receive a Mets replica jersey courtesy of Conn's Meats. And due to the heavy demand of Sunday tickets for June 22nd, Conn's Meats Kid Jersey Day tickets are only available at Shea Stadium's advanced ticket window. For all other games, tickets can be purchased at all Ticketron outlets at Shea Stadium's advanced ticket window, or for information, call 718-507-TIXX. So come on out and see the Mets take on the Chicago Cubs. And remember, all kids 14 and under will receive a Mets jersey courtesy of Conn's Meats, absolutely free.
And the Mets take off tomorrow for Montreal to play a 3-game series. And after that, they return home this Thursday night to begin a 4-game weekend series against Ryan Sandberg and those Chicago Cubs for the first time this year. That's June 19, 20, and 21, and conclude, as you said, Ralph, on Cons Meets Kids Jersey Day, June 22nd. And those Expos come in after the Cubs. So a lot of good baseball here up through the All-Star break. Mets playing great baseball. Rafael Santana, who was 0 for 3 in Game 1, is the batter. 1-1. Make that 0-2, I beg your pardon.
There's a record of the Mets recently. 5 straight wins, 8 of their last 9, 17 of their last 22. Scoreboard count is wrong.
Yeah, I think it's 2 balls and 1 strike. I went for the head fake, Ralphie boy. Fastball outside, 3-1.
That is wrong.
No score, bottom of the 3rd. Rip, base hit, left field. So for the 2nd inning in a row, the Mets have their leadoff runner on.
Santana getting his 5th hit off Pirate pitching this year. He's been up 37 times. So Rafael picking up his first hit of the afternoon with a base hit by Morrison, the 3rd baseman.
So here's Aguilera, and I would imagine he'll be bunting, but if he gets ahead in the count, Davy Johnson may turn him loose.
Look at that, 1 home run, 2 runs batted in.
And the throw to first, not to pick off Santana, but to see if Aguilera was bunting, and he did show bunt.
Now they're going to call him away. They don't want him to bunt.
I'll tell you what, a brave Jim Morrison at 3rd.
And it's Father's Day, too.
That's right.
He was right on top of Aguilera as he squared the bunt when the throw went over to first.
And he's swinging away and a check swing. So it's 0-1 to Rick. He'll get the 3rd baseman thinking a little bit.
He's still in there. And now another exchange between Bud Harrelson and Aguilera.
Jim Morrison probably thinking, why don't I join that confab, and then I could find out what they were doing. Take my life in my hands this close with a guy who could swing the bat like Aguilera.
Ran into Cal Abrams the other day at a golf tournament. There's a story behind this if we can get to it.
He is bunting, and he fouls it off 0-2.
The Dodgers used to have a play when a bunt was in order, a certain bunt was in order, that they would bring an outfielder in to station him in the infield, right on top of the hitter. And it was always Cal Abrams that was brought in. And one time he went upstairs to complain about it, and he says, don't they ever have any Christians play this position? Oh, it was almost suicidal getting in that tight.
0-2 to Aguilera, nobody out, and he showed bunt again as Santana goes back. And he squared all the way. Morrison and Green both in on top of Rick, but it's 1-2. Wasn't Cal Abrams the runner that was thrown out by Richie Ashburn in the last game of the season in 1950?
With nobody out on a base hit to center field. Duke Steiner singled to center field and was thrown out at home plate.
Whiz Kids of Philadelphia won it on the last day of the season. Richie Ashburn has told me that that was the best throw of his career.
The only one. Milt Stock was the 3rd base coach. He did not work for the Dodgers the next year. He worked for the Pittsburgh Pirates.
And a pitch out. Why would you pitch out then? You know.
No.
Santana doesn't have good speed.
Maybe a run and bunt play. Speaking of coaches, when Clyde Suckerforth, the pitching coach, sent in Ralph Barranca in 1951 to pitch in that famous playoff game, Giants against the Dodgers, he was fired. Did not work for the Dodgers the next year.
Charlie Dressen was the manager, though, wasn't he?
Right.
Well, why wasn't he fired? He's the one who brought Branca in.
He was fired later on. He asked for a 2-year contract, and they said, see you later.
I guess Charlie blamed it on Suckerforth.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
He said, which one's ready?
Fastball is low.
You know who was warming up down there? Ralph Barranca and Carl Erskine. And Erskine said the best pitch he ever made in the major leagues was one he made in the bullpen. Because when that call came down to see who was ready to come in to pitch in that situation to Bobby Thompson, Erskine bounced a curveball, and Suckerforth saw that, so he decided to send in Ralph Branca and not Carl Erskine.
Oh, my goodness. So the thinking of traditional baseball minds. Mercy. I've never heard that story. Well, Rick Aguilera down on strikes, and here's Mookie Wilson. Santana not running on that play, of course. Mookie hit the ball fairly well his first time up, but R.J. Reynolds was there. Reynolds has 4 putouts, by the way. Rip foul. Crushed that ball, but it was foul. So it's 0-1 to Mookie Wilson.
Say, when you see the all-new Nissan Sentra Sports Coupe, you'll say bye-bye, basics. Hello, Sentra.
Decisions like that, bouncing the curveball in the dirt in 1950 when Erskine did it, and the decision to bring in Branca. That's how, you know, some of the things, some of that traditional baseball thinking started. I wonder how wearing jackets on the bases for pitchers, how that got started.
Well, they couldn't have been the old-timers because they didn't have jackets.
Huh. When did jackets come into
Probably
play?
on the first jacket day.
Fastball high, 1-1. There are a lot of baseball sayings that are just taken for granted without any analysis. Never walk the winning run on base in the late innings. Never. Circumstances do prevail, however, don't they?
Well, the ball game really has gotten a lot more sophisticated. Thinking has changed tremendously.
Mookie fouls it back, 1-2. But it took so long for it to change. Guard the line in the late innings for no apparent reason. Just do it because they did it 50 years ago. It never made any sense to me. And you as a player, if you question it, they'll say, because I'm the manager.
That's right.
That makes a lot of sense. Well hit left field. This ball is out of here. First home run as a right-hander for Wilson this year. Mercy. Mets lead it 2-0.
Mookie Wilson with 3 home runs left-handed, and now his first from the right-hand side. And the Mets get the lead 2-0. And there was no doubt about it. That is the 12th home run given up by Kipper this year. And Mookie coming up with his first home run from the right-hand side.
This one fouled back right below us, and I was writing in my book, and I missed it. Thank goodness I missed it. Ball right below us. You're going to give me a signal or something, pal.
I was watching you right.
Straight change, swing and a miss. 0-2 to Tuffle. The Mets on top, 2-0. They won game 1, 4-1. And Tuffle goes down on strikes. Strikeout number 2 for Kipper. And the batter will be Kevin Mitchell. Boy, Mookie Wilson waited so well on that breaking ball, didn't he?
Boy, what a production that the Mets are getting from Mookie and also from Len Dykstra. Dykstra with 3 hits in the first game. Now Mookie playing center field and a home run.
And it's just foul. And it was called by the home plate umpire, Gary Darling, and called properly. That was a good play by Gary Darling, the home plate umpire.
Well, third base umpire Billy Williams was running for his life. He saw nothing but the end of his career right here as he tries to get out of the way, and he was in no position to call it. Look at this. And he twists out of the way, and it was foul. He couldn't call it. He looked in for home plate umpire Gary Darling, and Darling made the call.
And Billy Williams pointing to security to have a spectator removed, and rightly so. In no way can you interfere with the umpires or the players on the field. And this fan will be ousted.
Evidently threw something at
that's ridiculous.
Billy Williams, and he caught the action, and rightfully the fan ejected. There was no doubt about that ball being fouled.
The ball was 4 or 5 inches foul, and a good call and a good hustling call by the young umpire Gary Darling.
No relation to Ron.
So Kevin Mitchell just misses a double. 2-0, New York on top. Change up is low. And it's 2-1. And 1 to Kevin. Oh, we just got a nice note in the press box, Ralph.
Got a note that Buddy Rich's office called. Said, did you mention Buddy Rich's name about some of the big man people? And we certainly did.
And Kevin Mitchell pops to Khalifa at second base. And Khalifa catches the ball, but one good sign, Kevin Mitchell almost to second, taking nothing for granted, running everything out. The Mets on the board, 2 runs on 2 hits and none left after 3. It's 2-0 New York. We'll be back after this word from Nissan.
Norton sitting in with us to do the color. Rusty Staub, the colorful Rusty Staub, the Grand Orange.
All right.
That name, of course, was given to you by the Montreal fans.
It's the National League. Cubs beat the Cardinals 4-3. Expos 2-0 over the Phillies. 9-7, the Reds over the Braves. The Giants 7-2 over the Astros. The Padres and the Dodgers are even in the 6th.
And right here, the Mets leading by a score of 2-0. Pittsburgh coming up, and they will have Joe Orsulak as their leadoff batter.
The Mets just seem to keep rolling along. Somebody else does it every game, Ralph.
Just talking about the fact that Len Dykstra played center field in the first game, had 3 hits, and then Mookie in the second game playing center field, coming up with a home run there.
That's it. Lenny had 2 singles and a triple. Mookie a home run. Just seems like no matter how much everybody thinks a bubble's going to burst, it just keeps rolling along, keeps floating.
Joe Orsulak to lead off. Joe grounded out to the second baseman his first time up. Joe has had 5 hits and 21 at-bats against the Mets this year. Parsippany, New Jersey. soccer player in high school. See more and more of that. Kids playing soccer.
I think it's a matter of cost, Ralph. I think the schools can't afford some of the equipment in some of the other sports, and that's a very inexpensive way in the lower grades to give the kids a good workout.
All he needs a ball and a pair of shoes, I guess, on the short pair of shorts.
Go out and get them. Kick it hard.
Joe will be followed by Bill Allman and then Sid Bream, as Rick Aguilera works for the Mets, trying to pick up his first victory. Rick and Doug Siss, the only Mets not to have a win this year on the pitching staff. Doug, of course, a relief pitcher mainly, and he's 0-1. Very few appearances. And the fastball fouled back. Orsulak behind the pitch.
Rick Aguilera, last time out, had an outstanding opportunity to get that first win this 1986 season. Unfortunately, he couldn't hold the lead. Davey had to take him out in the 5th inning.
Didn't get through 5. And this one hit out to right field. Kevin Mitchell out there, and that's not an easy play out there. It's the Sun field now, and a tough field to play. And you see the shades were down, but still, that doesn't mean you're going to catch it or find it, as a matter of fact.
We said this in the first game, Ralph. Right field is now going to start getting really tough. It's even tough to get a jump, because when you start making your first move, if you look at the ball, it seems like just as the ball leaves the bat, it goes into the sun.
That brings up Bill Allman looking for his first hit against the Mets this year. He's 0 for 19. And he gets a slider, and he'll be 0 for 20.
It was very surprising to see him in the 3rd slot, having had so much bad luck, non-success against the Mets. It's actually his first start of the season at shortstop.
And he came up as a shortstop, played shortstop for the Mets.
When I first met Bill Allman, I said in the first game it was as a shortstop in the Montreal organization. We had spring training together in 1980.
And here's Sid Bream, who did not play in the first game. Walked his first time up in this game. About half of his hits have been extra base hits. He has 9 home runs. And he hits this one hard at Tuffle, who fights it off. And the Pirates go quickly and economically as far as the Mets are concerned. 1-2-3 in the score at the end of 3.5 innings. The Mets 2, the Pirates nothing. Now here's a word from Budweiser. And the Met fans catching a doubleheader, the first at Shea Stadium this year. The second doubleheader for the Mets. Their first played a week ago in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh splitting the doubleheader with the Mets winning the first game, the Mets winning the second. And the Mets will have Gary Carter to lead off. Gary singled his first time up. Gary 0 for 3 in the first game, so his base hit his first time up in this game. His first hit of the doubleheader. Hit the ball well in the first game. I was talking to Bob Ojeda after the game on Kiner's Corner, and he said the one thing that really bothers him here, the airplanes flying over.
Well, I think they bother everybody, Ralph. It's just part of what you're going to have to accept here at Shea Stadium, unfortunately. I think one time during the World Series in 1973, they diverted the planes for a game or two. But for the most part, it depends on which way the wind's blowing and if we're going to get lucky here. Because certainly up in the booth, you can hardly hear anything.
And Carter hits it hard, and it is way back. It's gone. Goodbye.
Gary Carter has now struggled through most of the first 2 months of the season. Has certainly got his stroke going here. Fastball right in the hitting zone. Stayed back and just pivoted on that ball about as good as you can.
Well, Carter his bounds. That is the 10th home run for Carter. He has taken over the club lead. His 23rd career home run against the Pirates. And that is the 13th home run given up by Bob Kipper, the pitcher. And it brings up George Foster. And George pops it up into shallow left field. Bill Allman, the shortstop, making the call and the catch. Mets leading 3-0. 3 runs on 4 hits. Pirates have no runs and no hits off Rick Aguilera. And Ray Knight, the batter. Ray has not had a hit in the doubleheader. Lined out to center field the first time up in this game.
Ray's last 2 games prior to this one going 0 for 4 in both games. One of the first times this season he's gone back-to-back games without getting a hit.
Boy, he has had a consistent run. And he goes after the breaking ball. Knight has hit in 34 of his last 40 ball games, not including this one. Started the action today as the 3rd best hitter in the National League. One ball, 1 strike.
Bob Kipper's given up a home run just about every 5th inning he's pitched so far this year, so he has really struggled with long ball.
13 home runs in 66 innings. And again, a good pitch by Kipper, and the count 1-2. Born in Aurora, Illinois, Bob Kipper. Angels' first-round selection in the June 1982 draft. Came over to Pittsburgh in the Candelaria deal, which included George Henrik and Al Holland. Grounds it foul, and the count stays at 1-2. So Ray Knight with a count of 1-2 batting against Bob Kipper. Kipper, September 21st, won his first major league game against the Mets. Won it 5-3. His only win last year. Two balls, 2 strikes.
Ralph, do you think that the fact that Howard Johnson has been hurt, Ray Knight has had no one to spell him whatsoever, do you think he's tiring a little bit right now from the heat of the season and the humidity?
I think it could be true. He's not the youngest, and everybody gets a little bit tired. He's been playing inspired baseball.
I guess he goes home and sees that new little mouth to feed and figures he better get out there and start hacking.
Either that or get Nancy Lopez back on the circuit.
One or the other, eh?
One or the other. Nancy Lopez, the great professional golfer. Bob Knight's wife, of course. Went after a bad pitch there, grounds it, which is all he can do, hitting the ball that low. And it's fielded by the shortstop, Bill Allman. Pitch selection, the answer to the game if you're a hitter. That brings up Ed Hearn. Ed flat out to left field his first time up. Mets leading 3-0. And Hearn goes after the fastball at strike 1. Mets won the first game of this doubleheader by a score of 4-1. And this ball popped up into shallow right field. Khalifa makes the call and the catch, and that'll do it. But the home run by Carter, the only hit in the inning, and the Mets lead by a score of 3-0 after 4. Now here's a word from Burger King.
Here, Channel 9 presents the Canned Film Festival with host Lorraine Newman spoofing the incredible goings-on of Terror in Tiny Town. Friday night at 11:30.
And right
Don't
here at
miss
Shea
it.
Stadium, we go to the top of the 5th inning. That's the terror of Shea Stadium as they lead here in the second game of the doubleheader after winning the first game 4-1 by a score of 3-0. R.J. Reynolds will be the leadoff batter. Reynolds will be followed by Jim Morrison and Junior Ortiz.
Mets at home, Ralph, a 21-7. 750 ball.
Well, the Mets over the last 3 years have won more ball games by a considerable margin than any team in baseball under Davy Johnson. R.J. Reynolds grounded into a force play his first time up. Pinch hitter in the first game of the doubleheader and struck out, so he's 0 for 2 for the doubleheader. Rick Aguilera, the pitcher, and the batter takes strike one.
The shadows are now moving toward the outfield, and the hitter in the first couple of innings of this game, maybe the first few, had a little bit of trouble maybe seeing the ball because of the sun and the shade being in different spots.
There's a line drive base hit to right, and the Pirates get their first hit of the game. So Aguilera gives up a base hit to the leadoff batter, R.J. Reynolds.
It's definitely getting to be where the shadows are not a factor at the plate right now.
That'll bring up Jim Morrison. Morrison in the first ball game, 2 for 4. And he scored the only run of the game when he doubled the lead off the 9th against Bob Ojeda and scored on a bloop double by Tony Pena. And he goes after the first pitch, fouls it back into the stands. Morrison 5 for 35 against the Mets this year. One of the 5 hits a home run. And that pitch a ball, and the count 1 ball, 1 strike. Reynolds, the runner at first base, stole second in the second inning. So he's a threat to steal. 9th stolen base of the year. Mets leading 3-0. And the fastball, ball 2. 2 balls, 1 strike. Aguilera with a lifetime record of 10 wins and 10 losses. And he's 1-1 against Pittsburgh lifetime. And time called. So no pitch.
As opposed to the free base running that John Felsky had going on when Philly was in town, where they ran down 4 and 5 to nothing. Jim Leland has been much more conservative with his team behind.
Of course, his success ratio hadn't been anywhere near the success of Philadelphia's team. They have good base runners there.
They certainly do, Ralph.
So Aguilera with a runner on, now falling behind with a count of 3 balls and 1 strike. And this is a problem he has had all year long. Earned run average coming in 6.47. And a base hit off the fastball when he's behind. R.J. Reynolds going to third. Mitchell's throw is cut off by the shortstop Santana. So Reynolds gets to third on the base hit by Jim Morrison on the cripple pitch.
As you said, Ralph, being behind in the count, fastball right in there. Morrison, the man on first, moving the ball toward right field. Going first to third, R.J. Reynolds. And Kevin Mitchell smartly throwing the ball down so that the ball could be cut off and not let that runner get to second base and keeping the double play alive.
So Aguilera now working to Junior Ortiz with a runner in scoring position, another at first, and no one out here in the 5th. Aguilera in his last outing, as pointed out by Rusty, had a chance to be on the winning side of a ball game, but couldn't get through the 5th inning. You have to pitch 5 innings before you can get credit for a victory. Another timeout called by home plate umpire Gary Darling as Aguilera was set to pitch. And Darling getting some heat from the Met bench. Davy Johnson on him a little bit.
Junior Ortiz. His real name is Alberto Ortiz Jr.
And another hard smash by Knight at third. A run scores as R.J. Reynolds comes in. And 3 hits in a row by the Pirates, and Aguilera in trouble. Ortiz with his 3rd hit against the Mets this year.
Aguilera, little slider. Ortiz gets a break here. Bad hop over Ray Knight. Pirates score a run. This ball comes up real hard on Ray Knight. Real hard. Almost hits him in the face.
So a run in as Reynolds scores. Runners at first and second on 3 consecutive hits. And the batter will be Sam Khalifa.
And the Met bullpen is active, Ralph. We have Neiman up.
Khalifa grounded out his first time up, and he sacrifices. Aguilera comes up with it, throws to Tuffle covering at first base for the out, and the tying run moves down to second. Ortiz is there with a runner ahead at third, Jim Morrison at third, and the pitcher is due up. We're going to have a pinch hitter.
It's like Lee Mazzilli.
Lee Mazzilli, the pinch hitter for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Lee pinch hit in the first game and was struck out.
Lee in 22 at-bats as a pinch hitter, has 4 hits and an RBI. Has a very good on-base percentage as a pinch hitter. He's had a few walks.
He has a .414 on-base percentage, and he has a fine eye and always had. First-round draft choice of the Mets, first in the nation. Mets had a tough time getting him to sign. He finally did. He's always been a batter with a good eye. So it'll be Lee Mazzilli batting for the pitcher, Bob Kipper.
Cecilio Guante going to be the pitcher for the Pirates.
Pirates have used 12 pitchers in the 3 games prior to this one. Lee Mazzilli will be batting from the left-hand side of the plate. As a left-hand batter hitting .250. As a right-hand batter hitting .143. So Mazzilli, the batter, with a chance to tie it. Runners at second and third. The Mets leading 3-1. And Rick Aguilera working from the set position. And he starts off with a breaking ball and gets away with a high slider, and it's strike 1.
And except for third base, Ralph, the Met infield is playing deep. Going to give up a run for an out. Try to stop a run from second base, scoring on a ground ball through the infield.
Well, they say with the infield in, you can make a racehorse out of a mule as a hitter. But the Mets playing their infield back all the way around, with the exception of Knight. Knight is even with a bag to guard against a bunt. Action going on in the bullpen as Guante throws, getting ready to come in. That ball almost got away. Good play on it by Ed Hearn. And now again, Aguilera behind in the count at 2 balls and 1 strike. In the bullpen for the Mets, the left-hander, Randy Neiman. Ground ball to the second baseman. They'll pick up an out as a run scores. Morrison scores from third base as the Mets lead is cut to 1. And going to third base is Junior Ortiz. So a runner at third, 2 men out. Mets leading 3-2, and the batter will be Barry Bonds.
Mazzilli tries to pull a pitch away, but with the infield back, does get an RBI.
And with Bonds up, time run at third and 2 men away. Bonds 0 for 2 in this game. And he hits it hard at Carter, who takes it on one bounce. And Aguilera gets out of the inning, but not before 2-run score and 3 base hits, 1 left at third, and the score at the end of 4.5 innings. The Mets 3 and the Pirates 2. Now here's a word from the good old guys. And it is Cecilio Guante coming in the ballgame for the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Cecilio Guante is 2-1 with a 2.32 earned run average, has 2 saves, has been in 27 games, 42 and 2/3 innings, given up 29 hits, walked 18 and struck out 31.
And Guante, another outstanding player from the Dominican Republic, signed as a non-drafted free agent by Pittsburgh back in 1979.
And Ralph, opposing batters are only hitting 185 against Cecilio. He has not allowed an earned run in his last 5 outings, over an 8 2/3 innings pitched, and has not allowed a run in his last 5.2 innings.
He has been a tough pitcher. Last year, his strikeout ratio was 7.6 per 9 innings. 92 strikeouts in 109 innings.
He has 31 strikeouts, as we said, in 42 and 2/3 innings this year.
And a fellow countryman will be his first batter, Rafael Santana.
Last year, about mid-season, Rafael Santana said he had never had a hit off of Guante in his career, and his first home run of the 1985 and only home run of the
Santana with a base hit his first time up off of the starting pitcher, Bob Kipper. Kipper working a total of 4 innings, charged with 3 runs, gave up 4 hits, struck out 1, and walked none. 1 ball, no strikes to Rafael Santana. And a slider that misses. 2 balls, no strikes.
Pittsburgh outfield has a shift on toward right field, but they are playing quite deep.
And another one out of the strike zone.
A little surprised to see the right fielder Osalak playing so deep.
He's too deep.
Santana.
Rafael likes to dunk that ball into shallow right field. 3-1 the count. Three and 2, just did get the outside corner. Santana 5 for 37 against Pirate pitching, and he goes after that outside pitch. It gets by Green. Santana to first base and holding there as Orsolite gets to it.
That's a matter of letting the ball play you, Ralph. Green stayed back on that ball, retreated, gave him a little quick hop at the end.
So Santana on. They haven't come up with an official decision as to whether or not that's a base hit or an error. And with a runner on first base, it brings up Rick Aguilera in a sacrifice situation. His first time up, he was also in a sacrifice switch situation. They did switch when he had a 2 strikeout, and he swung on the ball and missed.
I was surprised to see Davey Johnson using Aguilera to bunt all the way they were charging from both sides so much, even early in the count, Ralph.
Rick, a good hitter.
Davey many times has shown the aggressiveness of letting people hit away in these situations.
And again, he goes into bunting position, takes for ball 1. Davey likes to switch when the count goes in favor of the hitter, and the count's in favor of the hitter right now. That Bob, who is that?
That's Tony Pena. It's like he's enjoying having a game off here.
And the ball bunted out in front of home plate, and it hits Aguilera. And evidently hit him in the batter's box.
It was a foul ball, yes.
Time called, and the runner will go back.
hit the bat a second time while he was in the batter's box.
And it was scored an error. So Santana on base as a result of the error by the first baseman, Sid Bream.
Certainly was not a well-played ball by Sid Bream.
It should have been an error. Although as a hitter, I might not have said that.
Especially if you were the one that was up,
Didn't
right?
you see that bat hop?
It did give him a little quick pace, a little quick movement there when it got to him, but when he retreated on the ball, he really let the ball play him.
And Aguilera again bunts it foul. So Rick unable to bunt the ball in his first 2 at bats. Both times in sacrifice situations. In the 3rd inning, when he failed to bunt and struck out, the Mets still got the run. As Santana, who had singles, scored ahead of Mookie Wilson's 2-run home run. And this time he executes the bunt. Fuente comes up with it, throws to first base to Bream, who was not charging on the play. Bream should have been coming in.
Some American League scores. The Yankees lost to the Orioles 4-3. The Blue Jays defeated the Tigers 9-6. The Brewers over the Red Sox 7-3. Twins over the Indians 7-3. In the 8th inning, the Royals atop the Angels 6-2. And again in the 6th inning, the A's 8, the Rangers 0. In the 6th inning, the White Sox over the Mariners 3-2.
And the Yankees, even though they lost, not losing ground to Boston, as Boston also lost. Yankees 3.5 back. Baltimore picks up a game. They're only 4.5 out. And here's Mookie Wilson.
Baltimore was the won that game in the 9th inning. I believe the Yankees were ahead, at least in the 8th inning, 3-2. So their bullpen must have failed.
One ball, no strikes, and now we're going to have a conference at the mound as Ron Schuler, the pitching coach, comes out.
No activity in the Pirate bullpen. Guess a little. He was asking him what time the plane leaves today.
Yeah. Schuler has been out there a lot.
Tony looks like he's really worried about it all, doesn't he?
Where are your golf clubs? 1 ball, no strikes. Mookie now hitting from the left-hand side. And it's 2-0.
His intensity level has definitely dropped off.
Mookie getting a home run right-handed in the 3rd inning, his first this year out of his total of 4. And this one grounded foul. Two balls, 1 strike. Santana, the runner at second base, with 1 man out. Mets leading 3-2. And a broken bat ground ball to Bream, who handles this one. And he makes the out at first base as Santana gets over to third.
Coming around to the plate, second baseman, Tuffle.
That'll bring up Tim Tuffle. Tuffle is 0 for 2. He has flied out to left field and struck out. Called out on strikes on a fastball in the 3rd. Hitting .228. And the slider for ball 1.
As aggressive an outfielder as Bill Verdon was, who is the outfield coach for the Pittsburgh Pirates, I'm surprised to see their outfield playing as deep as they do, as often as they do.
And Tuffle misses. 1-1. Tuffle hitting well against Pirate pitching. 7 hits and 18 at bats. Good fastball sinking on that outside corner. 1-2.
I don't know what that is, but
whatever floats your boat.
Mr. Diaz is having a good time.
Mike Diaz played first base in the first game. Slider ripped to left field. Santana scores, and the Mets lead 4-2 as Tuffle gets his first hit of the game and a run batted in.
To me, this is a mistake by Cecilio Guante. He just hangs a slider out there. Tuffle has had trouble against pitchers of his type, and he just got a little cute out there and hung a slider. Tim Tuffle took advantage of it and drove in a run.
And it brings up Kevin Mitchell. Kevin gets the slider, and this one just outside. 1 ball, no strikes.
That pitch he just threw right there was, if you're going to throw a slider, that's the slider to throw. He just enjoys that big sidearm thing, trying to make somebody look bad. Forgot, made a mistake.
When you drop down sidearm like that, the tendency for the hitter is to open up. And if you hang that thing inside, forget it.
Tuffle would have got underneath that ball. Might have been more than a single.
2-0 the count. And a strike call. So it's 2 balls and 1 strike as Mitchell walks out of the batter's box. Kevin has flied to left and popped to second. Batted 1 time in the first game and lined a double off the fence in left field. And the fastball hit into the stands in right field. Mitchell behind that pitch, not getting around. And a souvenir. Kevin Mitchell. Two and two the count. And the fastball outside, a full count, 3-2. And Tuffle, the runner at first base, will be running with the pitch. Mets won the first game 4-1. They lead the second game 4-2. 2 men out. We're in the bottom of the 5th inning. And the runner goes, and the pitch is fouled again. Mitchell wearing the number that Eddie Kranepool once used and wore here for the New York Mets. Runner goes again, and it's ball 4. So Tuffle down to second on the walk. And runners at first and second with Gary Carter coming up. Carter with a home run in the 4th is 2 for 2 today, a single in the 2nd. So runners at first and second with 2 men out, and the dangerous Gary Carter, the batter. Carter now with 10 home runs, leads the club in that department. And a strike call. Mike Marshall, the leader in the National League in home runs with 15. Cecilio Guante on the mound. And a good hard slider there. That's strike 2. And we just got word that Raymond Floyd won the U.S. Open. Chip Beck finishing second. So Raymond Floyd, who is one big baseball fan, wins the National Open, even has a locker at Wrigley Field. And a little weak ground ball hit out to the shortstop. Fielded there by Bill Allman. The throw to first base retires the side. But the Mets get 1 run. On 1 hit, there was 1 error. And 2 men were left on base. And the score at the end of 5. The Mets 4 and the Pittsburgh Pirates 2. Now here's a word from Budweiser.
28th. It's the 8th annual New Jersey All-Star Football Classic. Live from Rutgers University. Featuring the Garden State's young hopefuls with News 9's Carl Churkin calling the play-by-play.
And we're now going to the top of the 6th inning. Mets leading 4-2, and it will be Joe Ursulak as the leadoff batter for the Pirates. Ursulak 0 for 2 in this game. Did not play in the first game.
Joe Ursulak.
It'll be Ursulak, Allman, and Bream as the first 3 batters for the Pirates. Rick Aguilar on the mound. He has given up 2 runs on 3 hits. They came in the 5th. He had pitched no hit, no run ball through the first 4 innings. And Rick's fastball is fouled away.
Getting by that 5th inning this particular time is a big thing for Rick Aguilar. As you see, through 62 pitches, 34 strikes, 28 balls, 1 strikeout.
And he also has walked 1. Another fastball, 1 ball, 1 strike.
But has the opportunity to win this game now. A win for Rick Aguilera this time would be a very big plus for his mental frame of mind, Ralph.
Had a fine year last year after being 6-4 at Tidewater. He was brought up and won 10 and lost 7. See where Pena has left his seat in that golf cart out there and has been replaced.
Probably heard the Open was over, going to go see the replays or something.
Ground ball in the hole, and it will be a base hit for Ursulak. So again, the leadoff batter is on base. 3rd time in 6 innings with the leadoff batter on. Back in the 5th, the first 3 batters got on without an out, and they scored 2 runs.
And the Met bullpen is getting active. Randy Neiman up. Davey Johnson probably not going to stay real long with Rick Aguilera here. If he has any trouble this inning.
Now the batter is Bill Allman, looking for his first hit this year against Met pitching. 0 for 2 in this game and 0 for 20 all season long. First pitch is strike, so Allman in the hole.
Manager Jim Leland has 2 guys starting their first time at different positions. Khalifa at second and Allman at short in this game, just trying to find a lineup that might be able to beat the Mets.
Mets have won 10 of the 11 games played with the Pirates this year. And a good slider hit down the line, foul. Allman with a count of 1 ball and 1 strike. Allman from Brown University. 1st round draft pick of the San Diego Padres. Rick Aguilera trying to become a winning pitcher for the Mets. Came into this game 0-3 with a record of 1-1 lifetime against Pittsburgh. Working with a runner at first, so the tying run is at the plate, and the fastball fouled back. Allman with 6 home runs this year. Last year he had 8 all season long. Got him on the fist, and the ball hit down to Carter at first base, and it looked like Carter touched that ball in foul territory, and then it came back into fair.
Umpire Joe West calling the ball quickly after it hit Carter.